Major breaking news out of baseball where the Padres are finalizing a blockbuster trade to acquire Juan Soto from the Nationals. Our MLB insider Jim Bowden confirming that this is the trade Major League Baseball has been waiting to see go down over the past several weeks. The first baseman, Josh Bell, we also want to mention, also heading to San Diego in the deal. 23-year-old Juan Soto, future Hall of Famer, became available when he turned down multiple offers. The latest, a 15-year extension reportedly worth $440 million, which would have been the largest contract in baseball history, but he said no thank you, and instead opting to be traded there. Juan Soto, two-time All-Star World Series champ, a former batting champion, eligible for free agency after the 2024 season, and again, just 23 years old. So let's welcome in the guy confirming this news for us, our Jim Bowden there. Jim, I know you may have to look at your phone in the middle of all of this because so many moving parts. You tweeted out the Nationals are getting the biggest haul of any trade in Major League Baseball history. Explain how this went down and the details of it.
Yeah, so the Nationals have been working. Once Juan Soto turned down that $440 million offer, they were working the phones. They touched base with all 29 other teams. And it came down to three teams. It came down to the Padres, the Cardinals, and the Dodgers. But in the end, it was the Padres farm system that made the difference. It was just superior to the other teams here. And what they got back in this deal, quite frankly, as you just said, it is the biggest haul in the history of sports since the Herschel Walker trade, when the Cowboys traded him to the Vikings, which led to 2 Super Bowls for the Cowboys. It's that kind of trade for baseball. So let's talk about going back to Washington in this deal. They get 2 outfielders. Robert Hassel III, who I've said on numerous times will win a batting title someday. Reminds me a lot of Christian Yelich at the same stage. James Wood has a chance to be a Triple Crown candidate someday. He's probably the #1 prospect in this deal. C.J. Abrams is a top of the order type of player. He was rushed to the big leagues when he wasn't ready, but he can play shortstop or play second base. He's a guy that'll get on base, steal a whole bunch of bases. They get Mackenzie Gore, who started to figure things out this year, still has big upside if he can stay healthy. The sleeper in this deal is Harlan Susana. This guy's a 6'6" right-hander that throws 98 miles an hour. And by the way, in his last outing, he was throwing 98 on pitch number 103. He's the sleeper in the deal. So, I mean, this is just a huge package going back to Washington, and this is going to really expedite, their rebuilding program. You look at Mike Trout with the Angels, right? The Angels have never been able to win with Mike Trout. The Nationals didn't want the same thing to happen with Soto, so they decided to move him, and they got as big a package as anybody could have anticipated them getting. Great job by Mike Rizzo. On the other side for the Padres, Amanda, I don't think there's any doubt they're now a legitimate World Series threat. When you have Juan Soto, Manny Machado, and Fernando Tatis Jr. in the middle of your lineup, you can hit the best pitching in the sport. So it doesn't matter who you match up with in the playoffs, the Mets with DeGrom and Scherzer, or the Brewers with Burns and Woodruff, or the Dodgers with Gonsolin and Kershaw. This is a lineup that's going to be able to beat the best in the game. Couple that with the fact they traded for Josh Hader yesterday, arguably the best closer in the league. The Padres, they may not catch the Dodgers. I don't think there's a chance that'll happen in the West, but they're going to get in as a wild card team. And in short series, this is going to be a very scary team that no one's going to want to play.
The Padres absolutely in the mix now. This shows that they're going all in. But you mentioned in the short term there, because it seems the danger zone for them now is payroll, especially looking ahead to 2023. I mean, so how quickly are the Padres looking to have success, and how dangerous is that payroll next season?
Well, look, they know that with Soto, you've got 3 postseasons to try to win a World Series, and they know their window to win is the next 3 years. This is their window, and they want to go for it. But the other thing that they mentioned to me in the last hour is if things go south, they can always trade Juan Soto in the offseason for prospects. They can always trade him at next trade deadline if things don't go in the right direction. But it's not very often that a small market team like San Diego has a legitimate chance of winning World Series, and they have a window right now to do it. And A.J. Preller decided it was okay to unload the farm system to get it done. And quite frankly, I would have done it too. I think it's one of these trades that when you get done looking at it and evaluating, I think it's going to work for both teams. I think if I was Washington, I definitely would have made this trade And if I were the Padres where they are, I would have done it too. So trades are supposed to work for both teams. And this is one of those trades, Amanda, that I think really will work for both teams.
For the Nationals side, I mean, you mentioned just the haul that they're getting there. Is this the best offer Mike Rizzo could have said yes to out of all the teams that were in contention at the end?
Oh, it wasn't even close. There isn't even a second place team. Look, the Dodgers certainly have a lot of good prospects that they were willing to part with. The Cardinals were willing to part with guys off their major league team. But the comparison in terms of the ceiling of players wasn't even in the same arena. And that's why this deal got done so early today. Instead of waiting to the deadline, Mike Rizzo, when he got up this morning, knew exactly where he was trading Juan Soto to. He just had to make sure he got that final last piece, and he was able to do it today. He had to put Josh Bell in the deal to get that final prospect, which was really important to him, and Harlan Susanna, but he was able to get it. So 2 legitimate starting pitchers. He's got 2/3 of his outfield for the future done. He's got his shortstop done, all in one-stop shopping. So hopefully it's going to work out for both teams.
Jim, try to put this in perspective of trades that have gone down in baseball history. I mean, Juan Soto, just 23 years old. We've seen what he's accomplished thus far. Have we ever seen a trade like this before?
Well, I guess the one trade you could point to is when the Marlins traded Miguel Cabrera, who had a Hall of Fame future like Soto. Cabrera was 2 years older than Soto at the time, but the return in that trade was significantly different. If you remember, that was Cameron Maybin was the headliner, who was an overhyped prospect, and left-handed pitcher Andrew Miller, who most scouts thought would be a reliever rather than a starter. The return the Marlins got wasn't even close to what this is today. So, in terms of the return for a superstar, I know in my baseball career, I have never seen a return like this ever. And I don't think in the history of the sport, we've ever seen a return like this. But we've also never seen a 23-year-old superstar traded when his prime years are the next 7 or 8 years in front of him.
Yeah, at the All-Stars Futures game there, I think the majority of players are actually older than Juan Soto, hoping to get where he is at some point. Of course, that will never happen for many of them because of the talent that we see with Juan Soto. Let's talk about Juan Soto. Look, he said when he turned down that deal, which would have been the largest contract in baseball history, he said, I want to go to a team that's going to be a winner. How does he feel about this deal, do you think?
Yeah, look, he's going to say all the right things as he leaves Washington. He won a world championship in 2019 in Washington, and no one's ever going to take that away from him. He's got the ring, he's got the trophy, and he really was beloved by the fans in Washington. But he also knew this year there was no pathway for that Nationals team to not only win this year, but in the next several years. And he's in the prime of his career. He doesn't want to be in the same position that Mike Trout has been in with the Angels. He wants to be in the biggest stage at the biggest moments. He got a taste of it in 2019. He wants it again. So he wanted to go to a winning team, and he's got that opportunity now in San Diego. I mean, San Diego without the Chargers have just been all about the Padres. That ballpark is packed every night. Everybody in the Gaslamp district is celebrating and dancing every single night. And Juan Soto is going to walk over there with Fernando Tatis, 2 of the players with the most swag in the sport, with a legitimate shot at a World Series. I mean, Soto will say the right things, but I know one thing. He is more than thrilled to be able to go back to Southern California right now. When
we see that massive contract come down for him, what is that going to look like eventually?
He's going to get $500 million. I mean, look, the Nationals made a nice offer at $440 million, which was a record offer north of Mike Trout. I thought they did a very good job of doing that. But I mean, look, when you've got players like Carlos Correa making $35 million a year, Juan Soto is not going to sign for $29 million a year. I've said it. I said it 2 years ago. I'll say it today. Juan Soto will be the first $500 million player in baseball history. I don't know if it happens now or if he has to get the free agency to get there, but he will get $500 million when it's all said and done.
Jim, A+ for both teams on this?
I have to give an A++ to San Diego because you get Soto and you got a hater yesterday, but a straight A for the Washington Nationals for sure. You could never have gotten a better haul than what they were able to accomplish.
Jim Bowden, we appreciate it. We'll pay attention to your social media because, of course, there could be a few more movement, or excuse me, a few more details in this particular Juan Soto trade there. All right, so Major League Baseball deadline 6 Eastern. We are waiting to see if this Juan Soto deal would get done at the last minute. It happened quite a few hours earlier, but we will have live coverage for you at 5:30 Eastern starting here on HQ. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.